The morning sun cast long shadows across the wheat fields of New Haven Colony when the first alien ship appeared in the sky. Jake Morrison was drinking his coffee on the porch of the administration building when the comm system started screaming warnings. He dropped his mug and ran inside to find Lisa Park already at the main console, her face pale as she watched the scanner readings. "How many?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 12 bioships, maybe more coming, Lisa's. Fingers moved across the controls, trying to get a clearer picture. "They're big, Jake. Bigger than anything we've seen before." Jake looked at the display showing the massive organic vessels descending through the atmosphere. Each one was the size of a city block, their surfaces pulsing with veins of light. The Cathara had arrived in force. Get Ryan on the comm. Tell him to prep the emergency systems. Jake moved to the colony-wide broadcast panel. "All residents. This is Administrator Morrison. We are under attack. Move to your assigned bunkers immediately. This is not a drill." Up! The colony had practiced for this day, but Jake knew their drills were based on hope more than reality. And their families against one of the galaxy's most feared species. The math was simple and terrifying. Ryan Cole burst through the door, his engineer's uniform already stained with grease. The power grid is ready to overload on command. The mining charges are set around the crystal deposits. If we can't hold them, we can at least deny them what they came for. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Jake pulled up the colony's defense plan on his tablet. Red dots marked their hastily built gun positions. Green dots showed their converted farming equipment. It looked pathetic compared to the alien ships now landing in the eastern fields. Lisa's radio was crackled with reports from the perimeter teams. "North wall reports contact. They're big, Jake. 8 feet tall, maybe 9, moving in formation." Jake grabbed his rifle from the wall rack. It was an old hunting weapon. Nothing like the military gear the Cathara probably carried. "Lisa, you're in charge of communications? Keep the channels open to all teams." "Ryan, how long before the power systems are ready?" 20 minutes if we're lucky." Ryan wiped sweat from his forehead. "The reactors aren't designed for combat overload. I'm pushing them past safe limits." The building shook as something exploded. In the distance, through the windows, Jake could see smoke rising from the wheat fields. Cathara were burning everything in their path. "Sir, we have a problem." Lisa's voice was tight with fear. "The Johnson farm team isn't responding. Neither is the Miller family position." Jake felt his stomach drop. Those were good people, farmers who had volunteered to hold the outer positions. Now, they were probably dead. The radio burst with static, then cleared enough for a voice to come. "Through, this is Charlie team at the grain silos. We can see them. They're not just soldiers. They have machines. Big ones. They're tearing through the fence like it's made of paper." Jake looked at the tactical display. The Cathara were advancing on 3 fronts, moving faster than the defense plan had assumed. At this rate, they would reach the main settlement in 2 hours. "All teams, fall back to the second line. Repeat, fall back to the second line." Jake's voice carried across the colony's comm system. "Do not try to hold positions that can't be held." Ryan returned from the power station, his face grim. "The reactors are running hot, but they'll give us the juice we need. Problem is, our weapons weren't designed for this kind of fight. The Cathara have energy shields. Our bullets are bouncing off." "What about the mining equipment?" Jake asked. "The plasma cutters might work, but we have to get close, real close." Ryan pulled up a schematic on his tablet. "I can rig them for portable use, but someone has to carry them within 50 meters of the target." The building shook again, this time from something much closer. Through the reinforced windows, Jake could see movement in the tree line. Dark shapes moving between the oaks and maples that bordered the settlement. Lisa's fingers flew over the communication panel. "I'm picking up signals from the Cathara. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. It sounds like coordinates." "They're calling in more ships," Ryan said. "This is just the advance force." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. 12,000 people were counting on him to find a way out of this. But there was no way out. The Cathara didn't take prisoners. They didn't negotiate. They came. They took what they wanted, and they left nothing behind. "Lisa, Can you punch through to the deep space cum array? It's damaged, but maybe. What do you need? Jake made a decision that would change everything. I need to send a message. Galaxy-wide broadcast. Maximum power. Jake, that will drain our reserves. We won't have power for the shields. We don't have shields that work anyway. Jake moved to the communication station. Patch me through to every frequency you can find. Human channels, alien channels, emergency bands, everything. Lisa's hands moved over the controls. You're live in 10 seconds. Jake took a deep breath and spoke into the microphone. This is New Haven Colony on Kepler 442b. We are under attack by the Kithara Collective. We cannot hold our position. We have 12,000 civilians and minimal defenses. The Kithara are taking our crystal deposits and killing our people. If anyone receives this message, please remember us. Remember that we tried to build something good here. We grew food that could feed a dozen worlds. Had children who would have grown up to explore the stars. The Kithara are taking that away. If you hear this, know that humans don't give up easy. We'll fight until the end. New Haven Colony out.
Here the transmission ended, and the three of them stood in silence for a
moment. Outside, the sounds of battle were getting closer. Think anyone heard that? Ryan asked. Jake checked his rifle one more time. I hope so, but right now, we've got work to do. The war for New Haven Colony had begun. The message from New Haven Colony reached the Galactic Council chambers on Zentari Prime within 3 hours. The massive crystal dome that housed the council filled with representatives from 47 different species, their various forms of communication, creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic pulses. Council Speaker Thexera slithered to the central platform, her reptilian form casting long shadows under the chamber's lights. The Zorathi had led the council for 2 centuries, and her cold yellow eyes showed no emotion as she addressed the assembly. We have received a distress call from the human colony designated New Haven. They report an attack by the Kithara Collective. Thexara's forked tongue flicked out as she spoke. The transmission was broadcast on all frequencies, including several restricted channels. A buzzing sound filled the air as Velanash of the insectoid Veltar hive rose from his position. His compound eyes reflected the chamber lights as his mandibles clicked together. The humans show poor judgment in their communications protocol. Broadcasting their weakness to the entire galaxy invites more predators. The Kithara are predictable, said Luminous 7. The energy being's voice resonating through speakers placed around her containment field. They harvest resources and depart. Intervention carries risk with minimal benefit. Vexera nodded slowly. The humans have been part of galactic society for only 200 years. Their technology is primitive. Our military capabilities are limited. A full rescue operation would require significant resources. In the observation galleries, representatives from smaller species watched the debate with interest. The humans had few allies in the council. Most species viewed them as aggressive newcomers who had achieved faster-than-light travel through brute force rather than elegance. Ambassador Chenwei sat in the human section, his face showing no expression as he listened to the discussion. He had served as Earth's representative for 15 years, watching as proposal after proposal was dismissed or delayed. The humans were tolerated, not welcomed. Perhaps a token gesture, suggested Korath of the Crystalline Makers. A single ship to retrieve survivors after the Kithara depart. The cost analysis supports minimal intervention, agreed Thexera. The humans have provided little value to galactic commerce. Their agricultural products are inferior to established suppliers. Ambassador Chen finally stood. Speaker Thexera. 12,000 human lives hang in the balance. We request immediate assistance. Ambassador Chen, your species' tendency toward violence is well documented. The Kithara responded to perceived threats. Perhaps your colonists should have chosen diplomacy. Chen's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. The Kithara do not negotiate. They take what they want. Ass. Do humans? Velanash buzzed. Your expansion into contested sectors demonstrates this clearly. The debate continued for 2 hours. Species after species voted for minimal involvement. The humans were on their own. as they had been since joining the galactic community. 3 star systems away. Captain Sam Rodriguez received the New Haven transmission aboard the deep space vessel Meridian. The ship was returning from a survey mission in the Outer Rim, its cargo holds filled with mineral samples and scientific data. Sam stood on the bridge, replaying the message for the 4th time. Jake Morrison's voice carried desperation, but also determination. These were his people, calling for help. "Katie, how long to reach New Haven at maximum burn?" Sam asked. His chief engineer, Katie Wells, looked up from her console, concern written across her face. 3 days if we push the engines past safety limits, but Sam, we'll burn out the power core. We might not make it. What about the prototype? Sam glanced toward the secured section of the ship, where their classified cargo waited. Katie lowered her voice. The AI system is untested. Command specifically ordered us not to activate it without authorization. Command isn't here. Those colonists are dying right now. Sam moved to the captain's chair. Plot a course for New Haven. Maximum burn. Sir, I need to remind you that we're a survey vessel. We have defensive weapons only. Against 12 Cathera bioships, we won't last 5 minutes. Sam studied the tactical display showing their current position. The Meridian was fast but lightly armed. Against a full Cathara assault force, they would be outgunned and outnumbered. Maybe we won't have to fight them, Sam said. Maybe we can. Evacuate survivors. Katie shook her head. The Cathera don't leave survivors, you know that. In the secure bay, the prototype AI system waited in its heavily shielded container. Dr. Marcus Webb had spent 5 years developing the technology, creating something that pushed the boundaries of artificial intelligence. The military applications were obvious, but so were the dangers. The AI was designed to interface directly with human neural patterns, amplifying decision-making speed and tactical awareness. In theory, it could turn a single ship into a multi-threat combat platform. In practice, no one knew what would happen when human consciousness merged with machine intelligence. Back in the council chambers, the vote was concluding. Species voted for minimal intervention. 6 voted for immediate assistance. 3 abstained. The motion for limited rescue operations is approved, Dexar announced. A single vessel will be dispatched to collect survivors after Cathara operations conclude. Ambassador Chen stood again. When will this rescue ship depart? Within the next standard week, transport will be provided by the Veltar commercial fleet. A week? Chen's composure finally cracked. Those people will be dead in a week. Then they should have prepared better defenses. Velanash buzzed coldly. Chen gathered his materials and left the chamber. Outside in the corridor, he activated his personal communicator and sent an encrypted message to Earth. The Galactic Council had abandoned New Haven Colony. Humanity would have to save its own. The message reached Earth's command 12 hours later. Admiral Helen Carter read the report in her office deep beneath the Colorado mountains. For 50 years, she had prepared for this moment, knowing that eventually humanity would stand alone against galactic threats. Activate Protocol Omega, she told her aide. All Darkfleet assets are now operational. The aide's face went pale. Ma'am, are you certain? Once we reveal our capabilities, ... The galaxy just showed us exactly what they think of human lives, Carter said. It's time they learned what humans think of galactic politics. Within hours, signals went out to hidden bases scattered across the void between star systems. Spaceships that had never appeared on any registry began powering up their drives. Humanity's true fleet was awakening, and nothing would ever be the same. Deep in the void between star systems, where no planets existed and no trade routes passed, the darkness began to move. What had appeared to be empty space for decades suddenly came alive with the glow of massive engines. Admiral Helen Carter stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Nemesis, watching as her fleet emerged from their hiding places. Ships that had been powered down for years now burned bright against the black of space. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human engineering, built in secret facilities that officially did not exist. Fleet status report. Carter ordered Commander Alex Stone approach from the tactical station. His face showed the hard lines of a man who had spent 20 years preparing for war. 47 ships are operational and ready. The Retribution, Vengeance, and Fury are reporting full combat readiness. Dark matter drives are stable across all vessels. Carter nodded. The dark matter technology had been humanity's greatest secret, developed from theories that most alien species had dismissed as impossible. While the galaxy debated trade agreements and territory disputes, human scientists had been unlocking the fundamental forces of the universe. "What about our special cargo?" Carter asked. Dr. Emma Brooks reports that all weapon systems are functioning within normal parameters. The gravity manipulation devices are ready for field testing. Stone's voice carried a note of concern. "Ma'am, some of these weapons violate treaties that other species have signed. Treaties that humans never agreed to," Carter replied. "The galaxy wanted to keep us limited to conventional weapons. They thought it would make us easier to control." On the lower decks of the Nemesis, Dr. Emma Brooks moved through laboratories that pushed the boundaries of known science. For 30 years, she had studied every piece of alien technology that humanity had encountered. Trade samples, crashed ships, diplomatic gifts, all had been analyzed, reverse engineered, and improved upon. The gravity cannons were her proudest achievement. While alien species used energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, Brooks had found a way to weaponize gravity itself. The weapons could crush enemy ships like tin cans or tear them apart at the molecular level. "Doctor, we're receiving final deployment orders," her assistant, Dr. Tony Nash, reported. "The Admiral wants all systems ready within 6 hours. Brooks smiled grimly. "Tell the Admiral we've been ready for 6 years. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for us." In the weapons bay, technicians loaded ammunition that defied conventional understanding. Phase shift torpedoes that could pass through shields and hull plating before exploding inside enemy ships. Nanite swarms that could consume enemy vessels and use the materials to repair human ships. Quantum mines that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Each weapon had been tested in secret, refined through computer simulations and small-scale experiments. The galaxy had no idea what humanity had been building in the shadows. Captain Alex Stone moved through the ship, inspecting systems that would have amazed the greatest alien engineers. The Retribution was more than a warship. It was a technological achievement that represented everything humanity had learned about warfare. Status on the Neuralink systems. Stone asked Lieutenant Jenny Price, his communications officer. "All command staff are equipped and ready. The link is stable across the entire fleet." Price touched the small device implanted behind her ear. "We can share tactical data, coordinate attacks, and respond to threats faster than any individual ship could manage." The neural linking technology was perhaps humanity's most disturbing achievement. While other species relied on communication delays and individual decision-making, humans had found a way to network their minds during combat. They could fight as a single entity while maintaining their individual personalities. Stone activated his own link and felt the familiar sensation of expanded awareness. Suddenly, he could sense the entire fleet around him. 47 ships became extensions of his own consciousness. He could feel their weapons charging, their engines humming, their crews preparing for battle. "All vessels, this is Admiral Carter. Prepare for hyperspace jump to New Haven system." The response came not through radio, but through the neural link. Dozens of captains acknowledged the order simultaneously, their thoughts flowing together in perfect coordination. Back on Earth, President William Hayes stood in the Situation Room, watching displays that showed the fleet's progress. The men and women around the table represented humanity's greatest military minds, and all of them looked worried. "Madam President, once we reveal these capabilities, there's no going back," General Robert Kim warned. "The galaxy will see us as a threat." "The galaxy already sees us as insignificant," Hayes replied. "I prefer to be feared than ignored." "Political ramifications could be severe," Secretary of State Linda Green added. "Trade relationships, diplomatic agreements, colony rights, all of it could be at risk." Hayes turned to face the group. 12,000 humans are dying on New Haven while the Galactic Council debates the cost of helping them. Our people called for help, and the galaxy turned its back. No. They'll learn what happens when you abandon humans to die. The hyperspace engines of the Dark Fleet began their startup sequence. Space itself seemed to bend around the massive ships as they prepared to jump across the galaxy. The technology was human in origin, developed independently of alien science. It was faster, more efficient, and completely unknown to Galactic Intelligence Services. Dr. Brooks made her final checks on the experimental weapons systems, the phase. Cannons hummed with barely contained energy. The gravity manipulators created ripples in space-time that registered on sensors throughout the fleet. The nanite production facilities churned out microscopic warriors that could repair or destroy with equal efficiency. All systems green, she reported to the bridge, ready to show the galaxy what human engineering can achieve. Carter took her position at the command center. Around her, displays showed the location of every ship in the fleet. The neural link connected her to every captain, every weapons officer, every engineer. She was no longer just commanding a fleet. She was becoming one with it. Jump to New Haven system. All ships, execute Protocol Omega. The Dark Fleet vanished from the void, leaving only empty space where humanity's greatest secret had been hiding. They would arrive at New Haven in 18 hours, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Cathara had been harvesting the crystal deposits for 2 days when the human fleet arrived. Commander Zekthal stood in the central chamber of his bioship, watching the harvesting progress through organic sensors that pulsed with each heartbeat. Of his vessel, the human resistance had been crushed within hours, as expected. Now, only the cleanup remained. "Commander, we detect hyperspace signatures approaching the system," his sensor operator reported, the creature's multiple eyes blinking. In sequence, 12 contacts, possibly more. Gekthal's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Another species attempting to claim salvage rights. Standard protocol. Destroy any ships that refuse to leave. But when the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace, nothing about them was standard. The Cathara sensors had never recorded ships like these. They were angular where bioships were curved, metallic where living vessels were organic, and they radiated energy signatures that made no sense. "Commander, the new arrivals are not responding to our warnings," the communications officer reported. "They are not broadcasting identification or intent." "Then they will be destroyed," Zekthal decided. "All vessels, prepare for combat." The largest of the human ships moved forward. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, her neural link connecting her to every vessel in the fleet. Through the shared consciousness, she could feel the readiness of her captains, eagerness of her crews, and the power of weapons that had never been used in real combat. "All ships, weapons free," she commanded. "Show them what humans can do." The first salvo from the human fleet changed everything. The gravity cannons fired, and space itself seemed to bend around the Cathara bioships. The massive organic vessels, each one a living creature bred for war, suddenly found themselves compressed by forces they had never encountered. "Commander." Skethal watched in horror as his escort vessels were crushed like insects. The gravity weapons ignored their adaptive armor, their energy shields, their regenerative capabilities. The bioships simply collapsed under the weight of artificial gravity fields. "Return fire, all weapons," Zekthal ordered. The Cathara plasma. Cannons fired, sending streams of superheated energy toward the human fleet. The bioships launched their spore missiles, weapons that could eat through the hull of any known vessel. But the human ships didn't behave like any known vessels. The phase shift technology activated, and the human ships simply stepped out of normal space. The Cathara weapons passed through empty air, where their targets had been moments before. Then, the humans reappeared, closer than before, their weapons charging for another attack. Captain Alex Stone stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his mind linked to every system on his ship. He could feel the engines responding to his thoughts, the weapons targeting through his will, the shields adapting to threats before his conscious mind had time to process them. "Target the command vessel," he thought, and the entire fleet responded. 47 ships turned their attention to Zekthal's bioship, their weapons coordinating through the neural link. The nanite swarms launched next, clouds of microscopic machines flew through space, guided by shared human consciousness. They found gaps in the bioship's armor, holes created by the gravity weapons, poured inside like a living infection. Zechthel felt his ship beginning to die. The nanites were consuming the bioship's organs, turning its own flesh into materials for human ships. The creature that had served as his flagship for 50 years was being eaten alive by machines too small to see. "Retreat. All vessels retreat," he commanded, but half his fleet was already gone. On the surface of New Haven, Jake Morrison crouched in the ruins of his administration building and watched the battle through binoculars. The human ships moved like dancers, their attacks perfectly, coordinated, their defenses impenetrable. They fought like a single organism with multiple bodies. "My God," Lisa Park whispered beside him. "Those are human ships. But how?" Jake watched as one of the human vessels used its gravity weapons to tear a Cathara bioship in half. The alien vessel's death scream echoed through the planet's atmosphere, sound that made every surviving colonist shudder. "I don't know," Jake replied, "but they're here." The battle lasted exactly 37 minutes. When it was over, the Cathara fleet was gone. Some had been destroyed, others had fled into hyperspace, but none remained in the New Haven system. The human fleet hung in space like dark angels, their weapons still glowing with residual energy. "Commander." Julie Pierce led the ground assault on the Cathara forces that had been stranded on the planet. Her soldiers moved with the same eerie coordination as the fleet above, their actions synchronized through neural links that connected every human fighter. The Cathara ground forces were larger, stronger, and more experienced than the human soldiers. But they fought as individuals, each one making decisions based on limited information and personal experience. The humans fought as a single entity, sharing sensory data and tactical analysis instantly. "Target acquired," thought Private Danny. Wells and every human soldier in the area knew exactly where he was looking. "Flanking maneuver complete," reported Sergeant Kelly Moore, and the entire unit adjusted their positions without verbal commands. The Cathara had never faced an enemy like this. Warriors who seemed to know their plans before they made them. Soldiers who moved like parts of a single machine. Fighters who showed no fear and took casualties without breaking formation. Within 2 hours, the alien ground forces were either dead or fleeing to their remaining ships. The human soldiers stood among the smoking ruins of the Cathara camp, their weapons still ready, their minds still linked in perfect coordination. Jake Morrison walked out of the ruins to meet Commander Pierce. The human officer looked normal enough, but there was something in her eyes that Jake had never seen before. She seemed to be looking at him and through him at the same time. "Administrator Morrison," Pierce said, "the colony is secure. Medical teams are en route to treat your wounded." "Thank you," Jake replied. "But I have to ask, what are you people? Those ships, the way you fight, this isn't the human military." "I know." Pierce smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We're exactly what we need to be, sir. Nothing more, nothing less." Above them, the Dark Fleet maintained its position, waiting for orders that would come through thoughts rather than words. The galaxy had seen humanity's true face, and it would remember this day forever. The news of the New Haven battles spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours of the Cathara retreat, quantum communication networks carried footage that no alien species could explain. Ships that moved through space like living things, weapons that bent the laws of physics, soldiers who fought as one mind in many bodies. On Zentari Prime, Council Speaker Vexora watched the battle recordings for the 5th time. Her yellow eyes reflected the screen as human ships destroyed Cathara biovessels with weapons that should not exist. The reptilian leader's claws scraped against her desk as she struggled to understand what she was seeing. Analysis complete. Speaker reported her aide, a young Zorothi named Kextal. The human vessels demonstrate technology beyond our current understanding. Energy readings suggest they are manipulating fundamental forces. That is impossible, Vexora hissed. Humans achieved faster-than-light travel only 2 centuries ago. They lacked the scientific foundation for such advances, but the evidence was undeniable. The recordings showed human ships phasing in and out of normal space, weapons that created gravity wells, defensive systems that absorbed enemy fire and converted it into power. This was not the primitive technology the Council had expected from humanity. Velanash of the insectoid Veltar buzzed anxiously as he studied his own analysis. The coordination patterns are unlike anything in our databases. The human ships responded to threats before those threats were fully manifested. Their reaction time suggests shared consciousness among humans. XRS. Forked tongue flicked out in disbelief. The humans are individualistic to a fault. They cannot even maintain unified governments on their own worlds. The recordings played again, showing the moment when 47 human ships turned simultaneously to target the Cathara command vessel. No communication delays, no coordination lag. They moved as if controlled by a single mind. Luminous Evans energy form pulsed with agitation inside her containment field. The quantum signatures around the human vessels indicate manipulation of space-time itself. They have developed technology that violates several fundamental principles we believed to be absolute. Across the galaxy, other species were reaching similar conclusions. The Christek Collective, masters of mineral-based technology, found their best scientists unable to explain the human gravity weapons. The Voidwalkers, who had perfected energy manipulation over millennia, watched their weapons pass harmlessly through human ships that simply stepped out of reality. But it was the survivors of the Cathara fleet who carried the most disturbing news. Commander Zekthal, his bioship barely functioning after the nanite attack, broadcast a warning to every species that would listen. The humans are not what they appear. His transmission began, reaching alien listening posts throughout the galaxy. They have been deceiving us for centuries. Their primitive appearance, their crude technology, their political divisions, all of it is a lie designed to hide their true capabilities. The message continued with tactical analysis that sent shockwaves through military organizations across known space. Human weapons that consumed enemy ships and used the materials for repairs. Soldiers who shared sensory data instantly across vast distances. Ships that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They do not fight like any species we have encountered. Zekthal's recording continued. There is no individual initiative, no personal survival instinct, no fear. They operate as a single organism with perfect coordination. Even when we destroyed individual humans, the others showed no emotional response. They simply adjusted their tactics and continued the attack. On the remote world of Kepler 186f, Dr. Velanash of the scientific cast studied brain scan data recovered from the battle site. The readings made no sense according to established understanding of human psychology. The neural activity patterns suggested that the human fighters had been operating with expanded consciousness. Their individual minds linked into a collective network. This explains their tactical superiority, Velanash reported to his superiors. If humans can share thoughts and sensory input in real time, they possess an overwhelming advantage in combat situations. They can coordinate attacks with perfect timing and respond to threats that individual fighters might not detect.
All the political implications
Were staggering. If humans had been hiding such advanced technology for centuries, what else had they concealed? How many other species had underestimated humanity while the humans quietly prepared for war? Emergency sessions convened in government chambers across the galaxy. The hegemony of Vega Prime recalled their trade delegations from human space. The Spiral Arm Coalition began emergency military preparations. The Outer Rim Syndicate started developing contingency plans for human expansion into their territories. Ambassador Chen Wei found himself the center of attention that he had never wanted. Every species on Zentari Prime now demanded meetings with the human representative, but Chen had received no instructions from Earth Command. His government was maintaining complete silence about the New Haven incident. Ambassador Chen, the Council requires explanation for your fleet's actions, Dexera demanded during an emergency session. The weapons used against the Cathara violate multiple interstellar treaties that humanity never signed. Chen replied calmly. We were not consulted when these agreements were made. Your species was granted membership in the galactic community with the understanding that you would conform to established standards of conduct. Chen looked around the chamber at the assembled alien representatives. Fear was evident in every gesture, every movement, every nervous habit that betrayed their species' anxiety. They had spent centuries believing that humans were beneath their notice. Now they were discovering how wrong they had been. The council voted to abandon 12,000 human civilians to death, Chen said quietly. My government acted to protect its citizens when the galactic community would not. Your government deployed weapons of mass destruction, Velanash buzzed. The nanite technology demonstrated could consume entire worlds, Chen agreed, but did not. The human fleet destroyed only military targets and rescued civilians. Perhaps the council should consider why humans felt the need to develop such weapons in the first place. The chamber fell silent. The implication was clear. Humanity had been preparing for war, while the rest of the galaxy believed them to be harmless. They had developed weapons specifically designed to counter every known alien military technology. They had been studying their potential enemies while presenting themselves as peaceful farmers and explorers. The recordings from New Haven played once more on the chamber's main display. Human ships dancing through space with impossible grace. Weapons that turned the battlefield into a demonstration of power rather than a contest between equals. Soldiers who moved with perfect coordination while their enemies stumbled in confusion. The galaxy was beginning to understand that they had been living with a predator that had been very careful to hide its claws. The question now was what humanity planned to do with the power they had finally revealed. Admiral Helen Carter stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council. Her image transmitted across all inhabited worlds through quantum communication networks. The emergency session had drawn leaders from every major species, their forms filling the great chamber on Zentari Prime, but Carter was not there in person. She broadcast from the bridge of the Nemesis, which hung in space above the council world like a dark promise. Honored representatives, Carter began, her voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. I am Admiral Helen Carter of the Human Defense Force. I come before you today to clarify certain misconceptions about my species. Council Speaker Vexara coiled nervously on her platform. Round the chamber, alien representatives shifted in ways that spoke of deep unease. The human fleet had arrived without warning, dropping out of hyperspace directly above their capital world. No one had detected them coming. For 200 years, humanity has been a member of this galactic community, Carter continued. Have traded with you, learned from you, and contributed to your civilization. But we have also been studying you. The chamber erupted in clicks, buzzes, and electronic pulses as species tried to process this statement. Ambassador Chenwei sat calmly in the human section, his face showing no surprise at Carter's words. Every trade agreement taught us about your economics. Every diplomatic meeting revealed your political structures. Every technological exchange showed us your military capabilities. We have been learning your weaknesses while you dismissed us as primitive newcomers. Carter gestured, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. They showed detailed schematics of alien ships, weapons, and defensive systems. Information that should have been classified to the highest levels of each species' government. Zorathi plasma conduits have a critical flaw at junction point 7. The Veltar bioships cannot regenerate if their nerve clusters are severed. The Luminian energy matrices become unstable when exposed to specific quantum frequencies. We know these things because we have been planning for the day when the galaxy would turn against us. Velanash's compound eyes reflected the horrifying accuracy of the human intelligence. Every weakness Carter mentioned was real, carefully guarded secrets that no outsider should know. The New Haven colony was not just a farming settlement, Carter revealed. It was a test. We needed to know how the galaxy would respond when humans faced extinction. Would our allies come to our aid? Would the Council show mercy to 12,000 civilians? Or would you abandon us to die while debating the cost of helping us? Cielo's yellow eyes narrowed. You used your own people as bait, used volunteers. Who knew the risks? Carter corrected. Every colonist on New Haven understood that they might become the catalyst for revealing humanity's true position in the galaxy. They went anyway because they believed in our cause. The implications sent shockwaves through the assembled representatives. The humans had sacrificed their own people to gather intelligence about galactic politics. They had been willing to let 12,000 civilians die to prove a point about alien indifference. The distress signal was broadcast on all frequencies. For a reason, Carter continued. We wanted every species to know that humans were dying, wanted to see who would help and who would turn away. The results were exactly what we expected. Carter activated another display, showing the Council's debate about New Haven. The recordings captured every dismissive comment, every calculation about human worth, every decision to value politics over lives. 38 species voted to abandon us. 6 voted to help. The rest could not be bothered to care. This told us everything we needed to know about our place in your galactic community. Dr. Emma Brooks appeared on a secondary display, broadcasting from the weapons laboratory aboard the Nemesis. Behind her, impossible technologies hummed with barely contained power. While you debated trade routes and territory disputes, we were unlocking the fundamental forces of the universe, Brooks explained. Dark matter manipulation, quantum phase shifting, gravity weaponization, neural networking technology. We developed all of this because we knew that someday we would stand alone. The assembled aliens watched in horrified fascination as Brooks demonstrated a gravity projector that bent light itself around her hand. The technology was centuries beyond anything in their databases. How long? Xara asked, her voice barely a whisper. How long have you been preparing for war against us? Since the moment we first made contact with alien life, Carter replied. We learned early that the galaxy operates on the principle that might makes right. The strong take what they want from the weak. So we decided never to be weak. Alex Stone joined the transmission from the bridge of the Retribution. His neural implant glowed softly as he demonstrated the human coordination system. Right now, I am connected to every human military officer in this star system, Stone explained. We share thoughts, tactical data, and sensory input in real time. When we fight as one entity with thousands of bodies. No alien species has ever developed this capability because you value individual consciousness over collective strength. The demonstration was terrifying in its implications. If humans could network their minds during combat, they possessed advantages that no other species could match. They could coordinate attacks across vast distances, share knowledge instantly, and respond to threats before they fully developed. But we do not wish for war, Carter said, her tone shifting slightly. We prefer peace, prosperity, and cooperation. However, the events at New Haven have shown us that the galaxy views human lives as expendable. This is a misconception we intend to correct. The Admiral gestured toward the chamber where the representative sat frozen in fear and confusion. From this day forward, humanity withdraws from all existing treaties and agreements. We will negotiate new arrangements from a position of strength rather than supplication. Any species that threatens human colonies or trade routes will discover the full extent of our military capabilities. Message was clear. Harmless farmers and explorers were gone, replaced by apex predators who had been hiding in plain sight. The galaxy had created its own worst nightmare by abandoning humanity when they needed help most. The distress signal from New Haven was answered, Carter concluded, but not by the galaxy. It was answered by humans who refused to let their people die while aliens debate their worth. Remember this lesson well. Humanity remembers its friends, but it never forgets its enemies. The transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Above their world, the human fleet waited like patient sharks, their weapons powered down but ready. The galaxy had learned what humans were truly capable of, and the knowledge would haunt them forever.